the special guest we have on today's show is Kathy Kasten. Kathy, also known as the corporate Alpaca ice cream lady, is the CEO and founder of Lion Crest Leadership. Her passion for faith, family, and serving others has taken her on a journey from corporate management to the life of an entrepreneur and the joy of owning multiple small businesses. Kathy is a keynote speaker, executive coach, business consultant, advanced accredited trainer with a specialty in building meaningful relationships and a best-selling award-winning author. She specializes in helping others build great relationships, grow their leadership, and live out their legacy, one step at a time, one day at a time. She is also a blessed wife, mom, and grandmother. Hello, Kathy. Welcome to Experts on Purpose.
Hello, how are you, Jatsna? Nice to see you.
Same here, Kathy. Ever since I met you for the first time inside the group, the network, the mastermind that we're all a part of, I really wanted to have you on the show because what you're doing is something that can help so many women entrepreneurs, especially. So I would love to know how it all got started. I know you had a very interesting ice cream business before becoming a leadership coach. So how did that transition happen?
Well, I've had a pretty crazy life. As you know, my tagline is the corporate alpaca ice cream lady. So, for the ice cream piece in particular, before that, I actually had an alpaca farm. And
Mhm.
we were really enjoying that as a side business for our family. But I got a little sick, and then my mother-in-law was ill, and we needed to move closer to her. So that's
Mm.
how the ice cream parlor started. We weren't able to move to another farm, so we purchased the ice cream parlor because I'm an entrepreneur by heart. And it was really fun. I had no background in alpacas or ice cream, but both of them were fun. And I think a lot of the skill sets that we need as women entrepreneurs transfer across different industries. It's
Yeah.
just learning the specifics of that industry. So I had to learn about food safety and all of those things, but
Mm.
managing people, interaction with customers, leadership in general, that transfers across all. So I was in that business, and we actually had planned to be 80-year-old couple that served ice cream and had a staff at the ice cream parlor and retire from that. But I got very ill, nearly died over about a 2-year period. And that really made me reassess what the
Mm.
rest of my life should look like. And so, after some long consideration, realized that I really love leadership. Everything I've done in my life has been about that. And so we transitioned out of the ice cream parlor, and I started Lion Crest Leadership about 5 years ago now. So that it became official at that point.
Awesome. What's amazing about your story, Kathy, is that you have had success in different things that you've done. And when life came up with unexpected situations, you did not like give up. You wanted to continue your passion for entrepreneurship, but in a new direction. And that can be really encouraging for a lot of people who think that, oh my God, I have a degree in this subject, so I need to stick to this for the rest of my life, whether or not I like it. So this
Yes.
is really, liberating to know that it's absolutely okay to keep changing your careers and be successful in all of that and still be happy at the end of the day.
I think it's about asking, what is your gifts? What have you been
Mhm.
given that really is the thing you're most exceptional in? Because that's where you can serve the world at the best
Mhm.
level, and it's where you're going to find the greatest happiness.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's really fun.
so during this journey, Kathy, when did you realize that these are your gifts, and you need to use them to serve your clients?
That was a great question. I don't know that I recognized all of my gifts. I'm not sure that we always see them. I think sometimes we think what's simple and easy for us, everybody must find simple and easy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been a double journey. One, me discovering things, and sometimes I've been drug into things kicking and screaming that I was sure was going to be a terrible fit, and I've discovered I love it. The other side of that is that there have been people along the way. I make a point to ask people around me, and I do this pretty often. What do you see as my gifts?
Mm,
Because sometimes they see things in us that we don't see in ourselves. So I think
absolutely.
the combination of my life experiences coupled with what they see on the outside, that's really helped me. And being open that I don't know if I know all of my gifts yet.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think it's an evolving process, and we will keep discovering more and more. But before
mhm.
you started your coaching business, What were some of the gifts that you identified and probably also took other people's help in identifying?
I think networking with people, a true desire and passion to care about people, teaching others to lead, that's something that I have a big passion in.
Mm.
I'm a pretty compassionate person. And so a lot of trust gets developed in my relationships, which is wonderful. So all of those are really helpful with customer interface or, in the leadership work that I do now with the executive coaching and things, that trust is necessary. Otherwise, I would not be a very good coach.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the first gifts that I recognized, is that I have a passion. I'm also a big picture thinker. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the world doesn't have that gift. And so I
Yeah.
can look forward and vision forward and think about the overarching theme of whatever it is we're talking about. That's something that I can help. Sometimes other people may get caught in the weeds and not be able to see their way out. I lightly say that I'm like an airplane at a 30,000 foot level, where I kind of can look over the trees and
Yeah.
see a bigger view. So that's another skill that I think I bring to the
I was
table.
going to say bird's eye view, but this is like an aeroplane view that you have.
Yes, yes. And going back to something you were talking about, Johnson, I think for everybody that's watching or listening to this, recognizing that every day is a new beginning, even if you do face hard things.
Mm.
I've had people that I've lost in my life. I've had big life transitions. I had my own illness. 2020 itself, January of that year, when I had my leadership business started, I did a big keynote for hundreds of entrepreneurial women or women in professional roles. Had a wonderful day. My mother and daughter were there as part of my speaker guest table, and just had an amazing day. The next day, my mom dies.
Oh,
That's the
God.
beginning of 2020. So I put my business on hold to help my family. My dad had been married 57 years. So this is a big shift for him. None
Mm.
of us, it was completely unexpected. She had no health issues. So I put all my business on the side to try and help my family walk through this. Then COVID hits. Well, my
Mm.
entire business at that point was built on in-person trainings, in-person speaking. Everything got canceled. First
Mm.
delayed, then canceled because COVID
Right.
lasted longer than we all expected. Also, during that early part of 2020, I had my mother-in-law die during the
Mm.
hardest part of lockdown in our part of the world. And so in a 4-month period, I lost my mother, my mother-in-law, and my business basically collapsed.
Oh my God. How was
And I
that
had,
phase for you afterwards? How did you cope up?
I think at first, even for me as a visionary, there was a moment where I thought about, I think I'm done. My
Mm.
husband's retired. I'm not as young as probably a lot of our listeners right now. So, is it time for me to just step out, just be a wife and a grandma? But I realized I'm not wired that way. I probably will work till my last breath.
Yeah.
And I had to have a little time to grieve, for sure. I took a little time to give myself permission to just grieve all of the changes. And then as I slowly started to pick myself back up, I thought, if I stay here, I'm going to miss the rest of my life. I'm going to miss time with my grandkids. I'm going to miss new people in my life that I could meet that I won't meet
Mm.
because I'm feeling sorry for myself. So I dusted myself off and thought about, what do I do to step forward? How do I modify the business that I'm in
Yeah.
so that I can reach people? Which is how the virtual piece is actually really, I
Mm.
had done a little virtual work before,
Yeah.
but this was the first time that I started to do virtual coaching, virtual keynotes. Of course, I did a lot more work on my email
Mm.
list, things like that, that I could actually, more social media interaction, things that I could do. And I also, I think, got more intentional about how I spent my time, which maybe is helpful for everyone.
Mm.
Setting up time blocks and getting really clear on what your priorities are
Yeah.
really helped me to zero in on what's the most important pieces that I can offer and do really well. I don't need to do everything in
Yeah.
5 minutes, which for a high achiever, like many women entrepreneurs are, we
Mm.
forget that. We don't have to do it all. So I
Yeah.
think that was part of the journey for me, was getting a lot clearer about what are my priorities, how much time do I want to invest, who do I want to
Mm.
reach, what does my family life look like, how do I want that to
Mm.
be in this picture. So that was all part of that journey.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were able to use this time to reassess your priorities and also learn a lot of these new online skills to take your business to the next level. I want to slightly go back in time Kathy, and look at that phase where you were ill after you had to shut down your ice cream business, and you were figuring out what are some of your gifts, and you many people were talking about all the good qualities you had. So knowing these qualities is one thing, but using it to serve others is another thing. So how did you decide that I'm going to now use all of these gifts to start a leadership coaching business? How did that happen?
Boy, that's a great question. I think it was a development over time, Jyotsna. I was developing people when I was in the ice cream parlor, as an example. I thought about young people that were on our staff that I could see had tremendous leadership potential. So what could I do to develop them? When I was in my corporate job, I did a lot of work with employee morale and
Mm,
employee recognition and training of customer service, things like that. That was all part of my role. So it was kind of inbred into me, I guess, over
yeah.
time. But I think as I was asking myself, okay, with these gifts that I have, how do I reach people and make a difference in their lives? It was really realizing that people were saying to me, when I talk to you, it really helps me.
Mm,
You clarify things for me. You help me get out of the overwhelm. And again, going back and asking people in that early period as I was trying to transition, um, it really helped me to get their feedback.
yeah.
So when I opened the leadership business, initially I was doing a lot of training, which I still do. And I do a lot of business consulting, but I would say it's probably half and half now between that and the coaching.
Mm,
Um, the children's book came around after I had decided to continue my business and all of the things that came. So I think figuring out where to use it, a little bit has been input and a little bit has been trial and error.
mm.
I
And you
think
didn't wait to figure it out, right? You just started it, and over the period of 5 years, now you have different things that you offer your clients.
Right. And I think when I first started, I had been out of corporate life for, I don't know, at that point, 20 some years. So there was that imposter syndrome that you wrestle with, right? Who's going to
Mm,
listen to me? Why would they? I
yeah.
don't have all of the recent accolades. So thinking about how can I serve? I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to start trying things. I don't know what I'm going to like and not like. I'm not necessarily clear on what my best gift areas in serving others will be.
Mm, mm,
I'm going to try some things because
yeah.
even in coaching, I find one of the things that holds people back is that what if, and I call it the why in the road. And you
Mm,
get there and you have to decide to take a path or you're never going to know. You just sit there paralyzed.
yeah.
So if
Mm,
we take little calculated steps and we try something, so maybe I tried training and decided, wow, I don't like training. It's okay. Then you just step back and you
mm,
say, in this case, I did like it, but there have been things I've tried that I wouldn't do again, or I realized I'm not as strong in that area. So that's a
mm.
better area for somebody else to serve.
True, true. So some of our listeners are probably experts in different things, and they are not sure how to package this and how to offer it to their audience. Since you have done quite a few things, Kathy, how would you rate, or I would say, can you tell the pros and cons of training versus coaching or consulting versus coaching? And what's the primary difference, and why do you prefer one over the other now?
So some differences, consulting versus coaching. Consulting, we're doing a larger look at the company or
Mm,
usually that's company focused.
yeah.
So we're doing, for instance, I may sit in on some meetings where they've asked me to come in and be a participant or a supportive observer or to give feedback during the
Mm,
meetings, where they appreciate my insights. So it can be me helping with strategic planning. Um, Trying to think other things. It can be talking about, do we have the right people in the right places in the
mm,
organization? Assessing their skill sets. I'm advanced certified in DISC, which is a human behavior area,
mm,
and probably the thing I'm most strong in. So looking at, do we have the right people in the right places? Do they have the tools they need to be
yeah.
successful? And how do they talk to each other, especially if they don't understand each other because they're very
Mm,
different? So that's all part of that consulting piece. The coaching usually is one-on-one. And I tend to do that like an hour a week with each client. And we really dig deeply into who they are, who they were made to be.
mm,
How can they shine brightly? Are they in the right space? What tools do we need? What single step or a couple of steps can we take each week to help
Right.
them to grow. That's all part of that coaching.
And that's for someone typically in a leadership role.
Yes, although I have coached people that are, I would say, professionals, executives. Sometimes it's people who want to change jobs. And so they're coming to me and saying, I don't really know what I'm good at. Help me to figure out where I should go. Sometimes it's, I want to get a higher level position in the company I'm in, but I keep getting overlooked. What am I doing wrong? What am I missing? What am I not? So we talk about different ways of how they present themselves and how others might view them. And sometimes I've had people that want to open a side entrepreneurial business, but they're a
Yeah.
professional. So what do we do with that? So it depends on why they come to me. Most of them want to increase their leadership abilities. And that part is really fun because I love to grow leaders that grow leaders.
Yeah, because it's like a ripple effect, right? You work with one person and they impact so many lives. So
Yes. And
now that
go ahead.
so now that you've done both the things, working with a company and helping them with consulting, and also working with individuals at the coaching level, which do you think is more fulfilling for you?
So I'm a D in the disc world, which means that boxes are hard for me. So I actually would say I like them both for different reasons. I really love the one-on-one because it's so rewarding, especially this last week, I think I got 5 or 6 different messages from people saying, I just had an amazing different experience with my coworker, or I just got that job that I didn't think I could get. Or so as you get those and you see their lives change and they get excited, they get more confident, they start to recognize their gifts. That's just, to me, that's one of the greatest payments there is. So I love that. The other part I really love is on the business side. I'm especially passionate with small businesses, helping teams work together to start to appreciate each other and not compete, but complete each other as a team. So I love going in and doing small group team interactive trainings. That's another thing that's a fun passion point for me.
Right.
Both of those in their own ways
Yeah.
have really nice paybacks and just bring a lot of joy. I think, some of the companies I work with will have me come in and coach a full team. I think one of the companies right now, I have 21 people I'm coaching. So it can be a group like that, or it can be an individual. I'm from a family of entrepreneurs. My parents, my brother, my grandfathers, we are full of entrepreneurs in our family. So I definitely love supporting people that want to do their own business. For me, I love the independence, the freedom, the choices, but it's also hard work and it
Yeah.
takes some good dedication. And so I love to support people that want to go that direction too.
Awesome, Kathy. What I've also noticed about you is though you have years of experience in the corporate world as an entrepreneur and you've learned so many things along the way, you've also spent time in developing some skills. For example, you spoke about the DISC assessment, and I'm sure it's a certification program and you need to put your time and effort in getting those things done. So, when did you feel that you needed to not just depend on your experience, but also equip yourself with these certifications?
That's a great question. So I think for the answer to that, I would say when I decided that I wanted to go into leadership as a business, I recognized that even though I had these knowledge pieces, it might be difficult for others to see. So one of the first things I decided, I am not a fan of having 10,000 courses and reading 100,000 books and then saying, right, we have to have some focus. So
Yeah.
I thought, what 1 or 2 things can I do? Because I can't do them all. So the first thing that I did when I decided to go into it was look for what I thought was a very top-notch leadership organization. So after some research, I went to the John Maxwell team and went and got certified in the John Maxwell team program because I wanted other leaders. Iron sharpens iron, and so I wanted other
Yeah.
leaders to help me to think about how I could grow, how I could serve in ways I'd never even considered before, give me some extra tools. From there, because I love to connect with people deeply, I've always searched for something that was super simple but super powerful to help people connect deeper, because I don't think it matters what kind of a business you're in. If you can't connect with people, you're not going to have the success you could have. You need processes and the people both. And so because of an interaction I'd had through the John Maxwell team, I met someone who had background in DISC at a whole different level with a company outside of John Maxwell and Personality Insights. And I loved their focus. It was very positive focused. It was recognizing and supporting everyone's gifts and bringing them all to a high level of appreciation. So I really wanted to go through that. The other thing is, I'm not a big fan of the 2-hour certification courses. So I'm not sure that makes you an expert. And I don't mean to be unkind, but it's just sometimes I think, well, so I don't know. In this case, I went through, I think, 7 days of intense person-to-person training. And then I've gone through hundreds of additional hours of training with this organization. Not to mention all of the coaching and everything that's been a part of that, but just through the certification itself. So I went back and got advanced certified with the same company and DISC. I loved it because it was powerful, simple. People don't have to, you only need to understand 4 letters and you can talk to anyone in the world. It doesn't matter nationality, sex, age, birth, low, any of that. There are things we can use out of those 4 letters that we can apply. And that was a tool that really allowed me to bring quick transformations to people and teams. So those 2 pieces, the leadership and the communication, in my mind, were 2 things I really needed to step forward. Then I took my little scary teetering steps and just started.
Yeah. So from what you said, what my takeaway is, Kathy, is that you don't need to do hundreds of certifications. Pick the ones that connect with you and really go deep and really become a master at that. Because when people want to start their own business and grow it, I've seen a few mistakes that people make. A, they feel that I don't need any certification, I will only depend on my experience. Like if a person has lost, let's say, 20 pounds of weight, it doesn't qualify them to teach the same to others, because what might have worked for them may not work for others. They need to understand so many things behind that whole nutrition and how your physiology works and everything to qualify themselves to teach others. Or there is this other extreme, Kathy, where a person would feel that my knowledge is not enough and they would keep doing one certification after the other without using that to serve anybody. But I'm really happy that you brought this important aspect that getting yourself equipped is important, but don't do everything. Do the ones that are really important and do it for the right reason. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And another thing I'm going to say, Jatsna, I appreciate certifications, educational degrees. I have met some brilliant minds who are highly certified, highly educated. I've also met people who can't teach or interact with anybody with those certifications. And I've met people with 8th grade educations. My grandfather had an 8th grade education, and he was one of the best salesmen I've ever known.
Right.
So part of it, I think, is being okay with each of us are unique. And I lightly say sometimes, I guess this isn't such a light comment, but I just say I'm God certified, right? I was given special, unique, and that's a pretty good certification. I'll take
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, he built into me what I need in order to serve people for the way I'm supposed to serve. My role is to lean into that, to take those scary steps, to be courageous when I'm feeling fear, and step out and find out. The first keynote speech I ever did was very frightening to me. I'm that's not a natural place for me, but I really enjoy doing it. So I think part of it is just recognizing our value isn't just in our certifications.
Yeah.
And we may have expertise. My father was an expert in wood carving, a master wood carver, and he has the expertise of people that are highly trained. He's probably one of the best master wood carvers in our country. And so, but he has no schooling on that. He learned from other people and through so I think part of that is, don't be paralyzed to the point where you never help anyone. Because you're waiting. At least to be helping people while you're in the process of getting certified or getting that degree, or because otherwise there are hurting people out there who need you that aren't being served while you're waiting.
Very well said, Kathy. So you briefly mentioned about the children's book that you wrote. I know you've written a couple of books. So, and you've also helped your daughter publish several books, right? So could you talk about the different journeys that you and your daughter have had while writing these books?
Yeah, sure. So the first book that I was a part of was a collaborative with other advanced disc trainers. And
Mm,
so we had done a book that was really how we've applied disc in our
mm,
service to other people.
right.
Rather than a what it is, it was how can you use it book, right? So
Mm,
that was an educational book using some of our expertise to support people. That came out in 2019. Then in 2021, I met through a mutual friend, a wonderful woman who has a background in children development,
mhm,
behavioral development, and she and I decided to co-author Ready, Set, Lead, which is a book
mm,
for young leaders. So like that 4 to 10-year-old range.
nice.
I think we wait too long to help
Hmm,
children start to learn to lead. And
yeah.
so this book is full of leadership truths, and it's also full of disc truths. And
Mm,
they're maybe not as obvious because we didn't want to sit down with a
mm,
child and say, okay, but we built that in to really help them. And then we self-published a companion book that goes with that as well.
nice.
So it was really fun to be a part of those projects. Our
Mm,
daughter, who actually was the first author in the family, she wrote fiction. She wrote a devotion book. She's
mm,
written, just a poetry collection. So she's on her 13th book now, I think. But when she was
awesome.
young, she had a passion for that. And so that's
Mm,
where I guess I first was really exposed to it. So she developed books as a child, and we ended up traveling the country together while she would speak as a young person.
mm.
And then my father decided he and my mom needed to write a book. So they did a history book
Wow.
that was like
Your
800
family is full
pages.
of authors. Wow.
Well, it wasn't. But now I finally decided if you can't beat them, join them. And it's actually been really fun. I've loved it. And I will say, for people that are wondering, where can I get credibility if I want more credibility and
Mm,
visibility? I think of all the things I've done, maybe my first book was the most helpful in that. That one was a bestseller
mm,
on Amazon in multiple categories. It
right.
was a collaborative work,
Mm,
but it's amazing to me. I mean, Kathy was the same before that book came out and after that book came out. But the perception of
mm,
me as a leader changed tremendously when people found out A, that I was an author, and B, that we'd had a best-selling book.
right.
So that was a really big surprise to me. I think I was amazed at the difference in perception just from that
Mm,
one decision. So if you have the opportunity to be a part of even a collaborative book, I would highly recommend it. It also is really helpful to help you hone your own message and think about what you want to say to the world,
yeah.
which is
Wow.
fun.
I'm so glad you spoke about this, Kathy, because at Happy Self Publishing, we've recently launched our collaborative book. And we do get some comments from people saying that I don't want to be a part of a collaboration project. I don't want others to steal my limelight. If at all I write a book, it will be a solo book. My message cannot be shared with others. So there are people who think in that direction also. So, did you ever think about competition or things like that? Because the other people you collaborated with are also disc certified. So, did you guys ever have this worry that your clients may go away to those people?
No, and I haven't seen that happen with any of us to my knowledge. I think, really truthfully, it comes back to, are you comfortable in your own skin? I know that I cannot serve 7 billion people on a planet,
Hmm.
right? And so I don't want to be a part of a scarcity mindset. Well, because you might do something, then I'm not going to. I mean, that just starts to create a really negative situation. If we all lean in and say, imagine what's possible if I think there were 22 of us in that disc book. How can we support each other so that
Hmm.
all of us can serve more clients better? Now we've exploded the potential for the number of people we can all serve. And I
Yeah.
can't physically serve them all, nor am I always the right fit.
Hmm.
So not only have I helped others to reach people I can't, but I'm also opening up possibilities for choice for people where I can
Hmm.
refer someone and say, well, I maybe not the best fit, but this person is.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, that's such a nice way of looking at it. rather like looking at it as a collaboration rather than competition.
It should be a celebration. Each of
Mm.
us, I mean, if you look at the disc book as an example, for all the people that are certified in there, we had people that were in the military, people that were in healthcare, people that were in social work, education. uh, Kathy with her alpacas and ice cream. It was just a whole mix. So we come from different points of view.
Mm.
We recognize that one person writing a book might reach a certain audience, but when you
Mm.
have multiple people, you can reach more people
Absolutely, yeah.
because you have a lot of different
Mm.
perspectives. So, for instance, somebody might really enjoy the fighter pilots chapter and not mine, or they might really
Mm.
enjoy mine and not the social workers, or, because of how we speak.
Mm.
So that was really fun. It allowed us again to know that some chapter in that book is going to reach every person that reads the book.
So true. Could you recollect how your experience of writing that chapter was? Was it easy? Did it just flow, or did you struggle a bit?
It was hard. I'm a perfectionist by nature. And so, and I think a lot of people that are in the world you and I are in are perfectionists, right? High achievers. So
Right.
I want to write the perfect thing the first time I write it with
Mm.
no words to be changed, or I struggled a lot. It was nice we had the person that was driving this book set a timeline. We knew when our drafts were
Mm.
due, and I just would keep working on it. I would have people read it. I would pull it back and look at it again. Um, I'm not going to lie, I was a little apprehensive about putting it out there just because it was my first official written
Yeah,
work, right? I
yeah.
had done a lot of things online before, but that was a scary step. And I'm a big believer in taking scary steps.
Mm.
So it's like if I want to tell my coaching clients or my business clients that courage is stepping out when we're afraid, then Kathy needs to do that too. And so working on it, and I think the farther we got in, the more comfortable I got. And it
Yeah.
was really fun when the book came out. We had a group of authors that got together, and we had a cake and we celebrated. We got pictures together because we
Awesome.
were from all over the country. So it was
Mm.
really fun to get together and have a celebration of look what we were able to do as a group. And now
Yeah.
let's see if it makes a difference in the world.
Wonderful. I'm happy that you had a system in place, and you guys had timelines and submission dates and things like that. Because a lot of times when an author is doing all everything all by themselves and no one's holding them accountable, they would just take years to do that. But since you had a structure in place, it must have been easier to at least finish it off and move ahead with the next steps.
Yes, and no, there was a timeline. That's probably another thing I would say to people today is
Mm.
have accountability partners.
Yeah.
I absolutely appreciate and do better when I have people walking alongside me asking me, have you ever thought about this? Have you tried that? Well, that's interesting. What if you look at, I've learned about different softwares, different outreaches. As an example, Clubhouse is something I'd never done before this last year. And
Mm.
now I've been on Clubhouse a number of times. I'd never even heard of it. And so that somebody brought that to me and said, this is an idea that might be helpful to you. So having those accountability people that continually, maybe not always challenge you in a negative way, but just
Yeah.
get you to think outside the box, that you feel safe, that the two of you or the group of you can have discussions about how to help each other be better.
Mm.
That has helped me a lot. That has encouraged me to keep taking steps. I think sometimes when we're alone, we can talk ourselves out of things or get really stuck in an area that maybe isn't really that big of a priority, and we've
Yeah.
lost sight. Even I, as a 30,000-foot airplane person, can do that. So it's nice to have people around you to just take a look. Here's what I've built. What do you think about this? Or here's an
Right.
idea I have. Do you think that makes any sense? And maybe they say, well, try this to experiment, or
Mm.
I've done this and it worked really well. That can be really helpful and make it not feel like such an isolating journey, because I think
Yeah.
leadership can feel pretty isolating sometimes.
So true. I'm also a huge believer in accountability. That's why when a client signs up for one of our publishing programs, they have so many levels of accountability that they have no other choice but to, become an author. So it's
That's
just
wonderful,
amazing.
though, right? You're helping ensure their success.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
important because in the end, that's why they came to you in the first place. They want to have success. So it's
So true.
wonderful that you have that to help
Mm.
ensure that they get there. Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
great.
So, Kathy, what would be your final words of wisdom for all those experts out there who have so many amazing gifts, but they are playing a small game because they're not taking their gifts too seriously.
Hmm. Well, so I am a person of faith. So one thing I will say is prayer is big for me. And that's very important for me to really get centered about what's most important. I believe a lot in legacy. And I've really redefined legacy not as what we leave when we die, but how we live while we're here.
Mm,
So it's in my definition, it's what we live, give, and love every day. So, what are we intentionally wanting people to learn from us, experience with us? What do we want to share that when we are no longer here, we know we've been able to make a positive difference in somebody's life?
mm,
So, really taking the time to reflect, what was I given? Who was I created to be? How can I love in a deep level to help other people experience that same joy of whatever their gifts are? And when I'm on my deathbed or not here anymore, what do I really want to have left for my grandchildren, my family, my coworkers, my clients? What is it that I want
mm.
each day to feel like it was fulfilling? So I think it's really important to take time to reflect on that and not
Yeah,
let life happen to you.
yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing that, you know, very deep thought. Thank you so
Thank
much, Kathy. So, where can
you.
people find out more about you and your work?
Well, I have a website, lioncrestleadership.com. So they definitely can go there. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me with Kathy Kasten on there. I have a Facebook page. I have a private page as well for a private group on Facebook. And they can email me too at Kathy@lioncrestleadership.com. I
Mhm.
love to talk to people to find out where they are and see if there's any way that I can serve them or help them move forward. So
Yeah.
I'll offer that to your group. If anybody out there would like to have a no cost conversation with me for a few minutes, I am happy to do that. So again, if they reach out to me through my email or through LinkedIn or something like that, I can send them the link to sign up and chat with me.
That's very kind of you, Kathy. Thank you so much. We have all the links right below in the show notes. Thank you
Well,
once again, Kathy, for coming on Experts on Purpose.
you're welcome. Thank you for having me.